Howdy, ad copywriters. I am here today just to give you a couple notes, kind of some feedback. Let's say we were in the classroom and I'd walk in and I go, "Oh, good morning," or good afternoon, or whatever it is if we were in an on-ground class. "Good morning, class. I have some things that have been kind of gathering in my mind, piling up in my list of things that I wanted to share with you." And so that's what I'd like to do. As I look at your responses to my assignments, as I look at your assignments as teams, as individuals, these are some things that I'd really like to share with you. I'm sort of inferring some concerns or disconnects perhaps in communication, and also you in your understanding of my expectations. So to clarify those things, and see, I am all about communication. This is a communication class. I'm a communication teacher. I've been a communicator for, well, all my life since I started talking, and even before then I was communicating as a baby. "Oh, mama, wee, wah, wah, wah," or smiles, or but I'm still communicating, and I've communicated all my life in business. So I wanted to share some things to communicate with you my thoughts, my concerns, and my suggestions for how these you all can better navigate this class and get better results, right? Not just grade results, but also good results in your better understanding of what I'm trying to help you understand, and you carry that forward, those skills, pieces in your toolbox, as I like to call it, and take those into the workplace. It's not all about grades. Really what it's all about is that you become better communicators, better writers, better ad copywriters, and that translate into a better and more viable, marketable, and maybe even profitable, but satisfying career for you. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's not really about the grades. I have had students who didn't make the most awesome grades in their classes, but they've been very successful out in the workplace. So that's my goal. It starts with some simple things, my list, and that is to write, number one, to write better creative briefs. And you'll be doing that for the rest of the semester. You'll be doing that if you're in advertising, perhaps for the rest of your career, depending on where you are and whether that office or agency uses creative briefs, and most of them do. But to write better creative briefs, at least for my class, I am asking you, I'm not going to beg you, but I'm going to recommend to you that you go back and review the file. Can't remember right now whether it's in week 3 or week 4, but it's one or the other, called Creative Brief with Notes, Lise. Because that is not just the blank creative brief format, but that is the creative brief format with notes from me as to exactly what I'm looking for as you go through the differing questions of the creative brief. That will help you make a better grade, but it's also going to help you better understand what the purpose of a creative brief is. It may just seem like busy work to you, but a creative brief is literally a document that not only you will use in creating an advertisement. I know you are creating mostly singular individual advertisements in this class, but as a team, as a member of a team, your whole team will use these creative briefs. And I do know One of your classmates mentioned to me that you keep talking about brief, and then you want all this detail. There is a conundrum there, is there not? And I apologize for that dichotomy. They're called creative briefs, and they're not really called briefs because they're short. They're called briefs because that is a document, an official research document that generally holds a lot of information. It comes from the legal brief, which is very seldom brief, but it may be more brief than a huge statement that comes from a judge or a group such as the Supreme Court. So, yes, they're called briefs, but they should not be brief. Detail is what will help your teammates, you and your teammates, better understand this client. And that's the point of a creative brief, is to better understand the client, better understand the client's brand, and better understand the client's target audience or audiences. So the more information that is in this brief, the more on the same page you are as a team in trying to target these audiences with your creative writing. So detail is important. Research is important. In fact, I love it when you actually use citations in your creative briefs so that you can go back to some of these links to further develop your ad campaign or your advertisements. So they should have detail. Please go to that creative brief with notes, Lise file, and see my suggestions as to what makes a thorough creative brief. And then you can go back to that brief. Your teammates can go back to that brief. Whoever is working with you on a campaign or a project for a specific brand, client, project, product, whatever it is, you all can refer to that information and better understand how to move forward, who to target, what media to use because of the background research information that you have gathered. Gosh, that took me a long time to explain all that. I'm going to have to move faster. I'm going to have to be more brief. This is just a question. Are you checking your email to see if I've emailed you a message, some notes, some suggestions, additional directions, some explanation? Please check your email fairly regularly. I'm not emailing you every day, but I email you probably at least once a week. So please check your email every day to see if I might have sent you something. And then if you would, please read it. I also try to post those email informational notes that I send you in the news section of your D2L for ad copy and layout. So please check the news section often. Every other day, at least. You could check it every day. And by the way, I can tell when you've been on D2L. That's one of those sneaky things that they allow teachers to be able to access. So I can see how often you check. I'm not going to necessarily keep track of that, but I do go and look now and then just to see how often you all are on D2L checking and responding to assignments and discussions, etc. Please read, this is number 3, please read every note in the content section for each week. For every assignment, every video, everything I post, pretty much. Sometimes a handout, I won't write a note if it's just a general handout, but most of them I do. I write you notes. So if it's not showing, there's a little arrow over on the right-hand side that you can click and see if I've left you a note regarding a particular assignment. I can tell that you all are not reading my notes. under the content section for each of the pieces that I post. I can also tell that some of you are not reading thoroughly your assignments. I try to give you as much detail, as many suggestions. Sometimes I give you a step-by-step plan of how to respond to your assignments. There's a reason for that. Since I'm not able to talk to you in a classroom setting literally every other day, this is my way of having a pretty much constant conversation with you about my expectations for the assignments and how important they are and why I'm giving them to you, why they make sense for this journey that we're making through understanding how to write ad copy. So please read those. And just if it's hidden, it may be hidden. Go over and click that little arrow, or it's just an arrowhead, and it will show you whether there's a note. And there's almost always a note from me. By the way, I appreciate when you are uploading something onto or submitting one of your assignments and you leave me a note. I really appreciate that. That helps me if you have a question, if you say you enjoyed that assignment, if you say that you learned something new from that assignment. You have that option when you submit your assignments. If it was confusing, gosh, I hope that you'll contact me if it's confusing to you before you actually post the assignment into the Dropbox. But I appreciate any communications that you have with me. It helps me very much. So I encourage that. Communicating, yes. Another communication venue that I'm hoping that you will use is please let me know how your team is functioning. I need to know whether people are participating, whether it's just one or two of you actually doing the teamwork, or whether the team is actually communicating well and getting some brainstorming done. I know it's awkward to do this in an online class, that you may have to be communicating mostly through email, although I encourage you to communicate as much as you can in person, or through Google Hangouts, or some way that you might actually get to see each other and talk live. But if you've got problems with your team or concerns, people who are not participating, or just confusion going on there, please let me know. I'll try to intervene and make things a little smoother if I possibly can. But if you don't communicate with me, I can't help you in that regard. Another communication issue. So many of those. Why? Oh, well, yeah, I'm a communication person. So these things are important. And communication, as I said, is awkward in online classes. So the more that you all can share with me your thoughts and your feedback, the better. So on any assignment that I give you, let's say it's slogans, writing slogans, or let's say it's writing headlines, please take an extra 5 minutes and type in your explanation of why you chose those slogans, or why you decided on that headline. Give me your reasoning, your thinking, how you looked at your research, your target audience demographics, their needs, what appeals work with them, what their expectations are. Tell me why you looked at all these aspects of your research and your knowledge about the client and the product, etc. And explain to me in a sentence or two, or it could be longer, what your reasoning was, what your thinking was, why you decided on this particular choice. That helps me understand, and it just gives me a much stronger feel for your thinking process. And normally we would do a lot of discussion about that in the classroom, and we're not able to do that quite with the facility that we would if we were in an on-ground class. So, excuse me, anytime you can explain your reasoning, that's a plus, and it's going to enhance your grade as well. My better understanding of your thinking is definitely going to be advantageous for us both. Discussions. The discussion board, for the most part, is for you all to interact with each other, to talk with each other. I view that, I monitor that, but I won't necessarily jump into those discussions all the time. I will now and then, but mostly, excuse me, in this class, what will happen is you'll post a discussion and I'll ask you to also submit it as an assignment. So I get to give you my extensive feedback or more extensive feedback through the Dropbox options. So use the discussions to interact with each other and to bounce ideas off of each other and to give good feedback to each other. But I do check discussions and see who's discussing with whom and who is maybe not actually interacting in the discussion situation. It will affect your final grade. So I recommend to you that you go to the grade book and look at your grades. And if you are missing an assignment, it will show you a 0. Now, that said, it's not impossible that I might have missed one. So double check and let me know if I missed your assignment, or for some reason, maybe I went in and I looked at it, but I didn't give it a grade because I thought or suggested to you that you make some changes, that you do a revision. So please check. If you've got a 0, it's really your responsibility to go back and make sure that you've turned in that assignment. And if you turn in an assignment late, it's okay with me. I'd rather that you turn it in than not at all, because that means a grade for you rather than a 0, which really brings your grades down. Let me just tell you, that can really drop your grade very, very quickly. A couple zeros, just being silly. Please check those zeros, and if you respond and resubmit or submit a late assignment, please send me an email to let me know that it's there. And that way I can go back and I can grade it. Just a note, I had someone ask me about when the midterm was going to be or what it was going to be. I don't give a midterm. I think there's only one class in the history of my teaching at ETSU, which is 20 years, that I've given a midterm. There's only one class that I regularly gave a midterm. I give you assignments that build upon each other, and in the end, you end up with a comprehensive assignment at the very end of the semester, but I don't give a midterm. So don't fret about a midterm. Just go enjoy any extra time, and don't worry about that midterm. You're not going to have one. There are no tests in this class. In my mind, every assignment is a test of a sort. So there are no literal tests in the class. And grading is just what you see. There are, I think, 20 assignments, and that might vary. Sometimes I delete one and add another, but there are about 20 assignments, each of them based on a 100-point scale, just as so many teachers grade on. There are a couple bonus assignments that are only worth 1 point. Those were early on in the semester, and I don't think we'll have any others of those, but they just, if you actually perform in that assignment, turn something in and give it a shot, I give you the 1 bonus point that will actually add to your grade. But those are mostly for feedback. And as I said, those are sort of in the past now. We won't have any more singularly bonus assignments. But I wanted to give you just that little, I guess, view into grading. It should be apparent to you. So you'll see that there are multiple assignments that have not been done yet, and those calculate right now as zeros. And so your overall percentage looks pretty yucky. But all you have to do is add up and take an average of the assignments thus far and see what your grade is. I will be giving you final project assignments here before you know it. I want to give you plenty of time to be doing the research for that, and it will be a client for which you will be doing or creating an ad campaign package that will integrate multiple things, and you get to make some choices about which elements go into your package, but multiple aspects or multiple tools or ad types that go into that package. So you might have a billboard, you might have a couple print ads, you might have a direct mail piece, you might have a press release, etc., that go into your package. And I will be giving those assignments fairly soon because I want to give you plenty of time to work on those. So I have gone way too long, but I've tried to be a little bit detailed in my expectations and my suggestions for you. I hope that this helps you a little bit, and I look forward to seeing you on D2L.